Well, I played my part like every other player.
Yeah, but
Played their part.
you scored a few important goals, I seem to recall, along the way.
Oh, thanks, Rob. Thanks very much. I'm glad you said that, but I don't want to take all the credit here, But no, I thought the lads did unbelievably well in getting to the cup, to the final. Wonderful run. Had some really difficult games, of course. The highlight was Blackburn away, Liverpool away. You look at Stuttgart away, Boavista away, where Henrik scored the only goal in the 75th minute, I think it was. So it was fantastic. It was brilliant for the players of that era. It was great for the crowd. They travelled in there, thousands in their droves over.
How many were there? Was it something like 70 or 80,000? I think it was. I mean, I was there doing the TV commentary that night. You were there, obviously, even though you couldn't play. It was absolutely teeming with Celtic supporters. But it must be just a wonderful moment to have played your part in getting Celtic there, but it must have been agony to not be able to play.
I wouldn't go as far as saying it meant nothing to me, because there were so many Celtic fans, and I was still obviously a Celtic player. But when you'd played in 12 out of 13 games, I played in every single game, and I missed the final. So, Paul Lambert, with all due respect, I loved Paul. I was to travel into training with Paul. We both lived out in Houston. The Lambo wouldn't have played in the final. He sat on the bench. He ended up captaining the team, because our midfield at that particular, our European team was Sutty, Lenny and Stan in the middle of the park, and me and Hendrik were up top. Lambo used to always miss out in terms of if that was our midfield. So I would have certainly started in the final. And it was a great night. I was over there with my family. I sat with my parents in the crowd. My mum and dad came over as well. And it was just a bit of a blur to me, really. I couldn't really enjoy it because I wanted to play. As you say, I scored a few goals on the way to getting helping the lads get there. And I was just devastated, as devastated as a footballer could ever be. I wanted to be out there. I wanted to be in amongst the battle with the boys. But it wasn't to be, and unfortunately we got beat. I think Henrik scored his 199th and 200th goals that night for the club. Jose Mourinho was a disgrace all evening on the touchline. He was telling his players to stay down, dive, kill the time. And I remember Martin, almost if it had been a boxing match, I think Martin would have got on top of him. He was absolutely raging with Jose Mourinho. And it really was. Listen, Mourinho's been one of the greatest. He's proven that. But it was a disappointing night overall, because we had such a fantastic side as well. We had a team full of internationals. And it would have been a wonderful moment if we could have brought a European trophy back to the club on the back of that team, which lasted about 5 or 6, 7 years maybe, when Martin O'Neill came to the club in the year 2000. But it wasn't to be. But as I said, it didn't mean all that much to me, although it meant loads to the supporters and the other players, because I didn't take part in the final.
So there's a real mix of emotions for you, the fact that you were injured and couldn't play, but also where do you stand on the success of getting to the final versus the disappointment of losing the final?
Well, it was a great success getting to the final. Look at the teams that we beat, but ultimately you want to win. You want to win. You want a winner's medal, and you look at the professionals that we had in that team. International footballers, and I'm not too sure where they look back and they look at their loser's medal and they go, we won some games to get there. The fans were unbelievable, by the way, that night in Seville. The scene was just set. The support was just, you were there, Rob. Yeah. But when you don't win, it becomes a little bit of an anticlimax in a way, because you want to win. We were all winners. We won leagues. We won domestic cups. We'd all won things in our career, played for our countries, everything else.
And because of the big scalps you'd taken along the way.
Absolutely,
well.
and it would have been fitting. It would have been the icing on the cake. But unfortunately, football doesn't always happen the way you want it to happen. And you have to deal with the disappointments along the way. That's what I learned as a footballer. I lost in 2 European finals for Arsenal before I arrived at Celtic. The Super Cup final to AC Milan, and I lost in a last-minute goal in the Cup winners final to Real Zaragoza in Paris. So I started both them games as well for Arsenal.
Is it Naeem? Is that his goal?
Naeem, yeah, the ex-Spurs player as well, to make it worse. I'd missed penalties in the League Cup final last minute, Celtic Rangers at Hampden. I'd lost a cup final, but I'd won my fair share as well. So I just think that's a part and parcel of it. You know, you have to win as a team, then you lose as a team, but it hurts. It hurts when you lose.
Tell Alexa to launch Go Radio or listen on the Go Radio app.